Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make a top-down raglan crocheted sweater. Go ahead and get your materials, and these are going to be the terms that I'll be using in this video. If any of these are new or confusing to you, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through how to do them. I also just want to preface that this is a made-to-fit-you tutorial, so there isn't exact stitch counts throughout here, but I'll guide you through it. No big deal. Alright, so first things first, we're going to get started with the neckline ribbing. Go ahead and get your 5mm hook. Now, if you only have one hook size, you could do this all in the same hook size. That's fine. But we're going to do the ribbing in 5mm on this one. So you're going to start with a slip knot, and then you're going to chain your desired length that you would like your neckline. This is a mock neck, so it is going to come up almost like a turtleneck. Just keep that in mind. So for mine, I chained 6 plus 1, so I had 7 chains. Once you've got your chains, you're going to go ahead and flip to the back, and on the back of your chain you'll see these little bumps. We're going to crochet right into those. It makes everything look cleaner. So you're going to work a half double crochet, you're going to skip that first chain and go into the second chain and work your half double crochet. So you yarn over, insert your hook, pull up your yarn, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull over again, and you have a half double crochet. Just go ahead and do that the rest of the way down the chain. I ended up having 6 stitches in total. Now you have your 6 half double crochets, or however many you made. And real quick, if you flip it over and look underneath, see how nice and neat you can see those stitches? It's going to come in handy later when you are slip stitching your ribbing together. So now for the rest of the ribbing, you're going to repeat this row right here. You're going to chain 1, and at no point anywhere in this tutorial do any chains count as a stitch anywhere. Just a heads up. So you'll chain 1, turn your project, and to keep your ribbing nice and crispy, we're going to go ahead and in the first and last stitches, we're going to do a half double crochet like normal. And then in the stitches in between, you'll be working in the back loop only. So I have 6 stitches, so mine will be half double crochet like normal, 4 half double crochet in the back loop only, and then 1 half double crochet like normal on the end. I do it this way because it just makes your ribbing last a little longer. It'll still stretch, and it just looks easier when you're trying to do the next part of this pattern. So we've got our half double crochet like normal in the first stitch, and then in these next 4 stitches I'll be showing you how to do a back loop only half double crochet. So when you look at the top of your stitches, they look like little V's. You have a little post closer to you and a post further away from you. The post further away from you is going to be your back loop only. So you'll just yarn over, go into that back loop only, pull up, yarn over again, and pull through. And you have a half double crochet, back loop only. So I do that for the next 3 stitches. And then right here in this last one, just a regular half double crochet. Now is the fun part. You get to just repeat that previous row until you reach your desired length of your neckline ribbing. You basically want it to, when you're holding both ends together, you want it to comfortably fit around your head. Mine was 54 rows by the time I was done. And for this tutorial in particular, it doesn't matter how many rows you have. There's not going to be a math equation for anything in here. You really just want it to fit around your head comfortably. You don't want it to be choking your neck out or fighting it every time you slide it over your head. Now once you've got your ribbing to a comfortable length, you're going to go ahead and chain one, and then you just want to make sure that your ribbing doesn't get all twisted up on you, and you just want to make both ends kiss. Because all we're going to do here is we're going to slip stitch them together. You are more than welcome to slip stitch them however way you see fit. I personally like to, on the side closest to me, go through the whole stitch, and then on the side further away from me, go through the back loop only. But if you want to just slip stitch right through, you want to do slip stitch back loop only on the ribbing, whichever you're more comfortable with. I just like the way the seam looks when you do it this way. Stitches, you're going to go ahead and swap out and move to your 6mm hook. And now once you've got your 6mm hook in there, this row, all we're doing is chaining one, and you're going to do single crochets into the side of each of those half double crochets of your ribbing. This part can get a little confusing, but since you crocheted into the entire stitch on the first and last stitches of your ribbing, I find it a lot easier to find where you need to put your hook in for this row. And if you look closely, you can see the rows pretty easily. You just kind of want to eyeball it. As long as you have the same amount of single crochets in this row as you did rows of ribbing, you're fine. You did it, and you got it. I do like to put a stitch marker in this first stitch though, so I don't get lost. Now, once you've got that first half double crochet into the side, you're just gonna take your time, look closely, and you'll be able to see your stitches lining up. And just single crochet all the way around this row. And then once you've reached the end of this row, do not slip stitch just yet. I'm going to show you how I like to place my stitch markers. Go ahead and grab yourself 4 stitch markers. And if you look from the top down, you have your first stitch that you marked. From that stitch, count to the left and up and place a stitch marker. I counted 10. And then on the other side from that last stitch that you made, you're going to do the same thing. Count to the right and up the same amount of stitches that you did on the left side. And that'll create the back halves of your sleeve. Now from each of those stitch markers you placed, you're going to count forward. I counted 8 on each side, and then when you place that stitch marker, that will be your sleeve. You'll do it on both sides. And this is where you can stop and take a look. I like to count the front section and make sure that it's as close as possible to the back section. As long as your arm sections are the same stitch count, you'll be fine. But feel free to play with it at this point. Go ahead, move your stitches around. I actually ended up having to move mine back 1 stitch each because I didn't like that they had 9 in between. I wanted 8 in between for the sleeves. I personally find when I do it this way, my sweaters will fit a little better, because if you do the 100 into 4, this is 25, blah, 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 that whole bit, personally for me, doesn't fit my body the best. This way, I can make sure that my bust fits in the front, my linebacker shoulders fit in the back, and my chubby little arms fit through the sleeves. And once you are happy with your stitch marker placement, we're going to go ahead and switch colors to the main color we're using for the rest of the sweater. I like to change my colors by finishing out the last stitch with the new color. I like to tie them together and then I will crochet right over them, so that way most of this we can just cut our ends when we're done. We won't have to fight with weaving in too many pieces. So now we're just going to slip stitch, chain 2, and turn your work. And don't forget, at no point in this tutorial do chains count as any stitches. So for this next part, you're just going to double crochet in each stitch until you get to the stitch marker. I'll show you what to do when we get there. But for a double crochet, you yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up. You have 3 loops. You'll yarn over and pull through 2, and then you'll yarn over and pull through 2 again. And you have a double crochet. Just do that along until you get to your stitch marker. And once you reach that first stitch marker, go ahead and take it out, and you're going to place a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet into that spot with the stitch marker. And that is your double crochet, chain 2 increase. So now, to repeat the rest of this row, you're just going to double crochet in each stitch until you get to each of those stitch markers, and in those stitch markers, you will do your double crochet, chain 2 increase. Now, as I said before, since this is kind of a guide and all of us who are doing this might have different stitch counts, if it helps, this row will increase by 4 stitches. That way you'll know you're on the right track. And then once you reach the end of the row, just slip stitch to finish the round. And you should now have 4 increases where you had your 4 stitch markers. Slip stitch to end the round, chain 2, and then we'll get started on the next row. Now after you've chained 2, go ahead and turn your work. And for this row, you're essentially doing the same thing. You're going to double crochet in each stitch. And then once you get to that increase spot from the previous row, right into that gap, you're just going to double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet into those gaps. And you'll just repeat that all the way around. If it helps, your stitch count should increase by 8 stitches. Now from this row until you reach your desired length, you're just going to keep repeating the previous row. Double crochet in each stitch, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the chain 2 spaces from the previous row. Each row your stitch count should increase by 8 stitches, and you're going to make this until it reaches about mid-bust length, because if your ends don't meet under your arms, that's fine. We can always chain to make that go longer. Essentially, you just want this to reach about mid-bust length. Now, depending on how oversized you want this, I'm going to stop here because I want it to be a little fitted around the body. But if you want to go oversized, you can keep going to underneath your bust, but right here is generally a good place to stop. So we're going to go ahead and move on to separating your arms from your body. From here, you're just going to put your hook right back in there, chain 2. You're going to turn your work. And now you're going to work double crochets in each stitch until you get to that corner piece. You don't want to crochet into the gaps. Stop in the stitch right before the gap. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect the front panel to the back panel, also creating your armhole. You don't have to chain here if you're happy with how they connect, but I'm going to put a little chain of 5 just to make sure that it fits comfortably. And once you make your chain, if needed, you're just going to double crochet directly into the other side. You kind of have to flip your project over so now that the front piece is looking at you instead of the back panel. And you're not going to crochet into the chain 2 gap, you're going to crochet into that stitch right to the left of it. And you just do a double crochet like normal. It's going to feel a little funny. Hold your yarn a little tight so you don't have a big gap. and you have your first armhole. And then from there, you're just going to double crochet into each stitch until you get to the other corner, and you're going to repeat the same process. Now that you've reached the other end, go ahead and do your chain. And then connect it to the other side, which now you're working on the back half again. So you kind of have to flip your project around, and you'll just double crochet directly into that stitch to the left of your chain 2 space. And once that's done, you just finish your round by double crocheting in each stitch, and then you'll slip stitch to end your round. And for this row, you chain 2, turn your work, your double crochet into each stitch. And once you get to your chains that you made, if you made any, to make your armholes, you're just going to double crochet once into each of those chains. So if you had 5 chains, you're going to have 5 extra double crochets on that side. Once you've reached the end, go ahead and slip stitch to end the round. And now comes the easy part for the rest of the body. You're just going to chain 2, turn your work, and you're just doing double crochets in each stitch all the way around. You're going to repeat that until you have reached the desired length of your sweater. But don't forget you're also adding ribbing, which will tack on about an extra 2 inches depending on how long you want your ribbing. And don't forget that your project will get longer after you've blocked it or steamed it or washed it. And once you've reached your desired length, go ahead and cut your yarn, but don't tie off yet, because we're still going to add the ribbing later after we do the sleeves. I like to put a little stitch marker in there so it doesn't fall out and I don't get lost. Next up is the sleeves. Go ahead and create a slip knot right on your hook. And I do this with the back of the project facing me, so that way you can keep the seams all towards the back of your sweater. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to look for those gaps that were created from when you made your armholes. Now once you've found your gaps, if you look to the right where your stitches are, your double crochets, you're going to go to the second one to the right of your gap. And we're going to do what's called a stacked single crochet in there. For a stacked single crochet, you're just going to insert your hook that already has the slip knot on it, and you're going to yarn over and pull that up and do a single crochet. You'll yarn over your hook again and pull through. Now, for the second part, when you look at your single crochet, you have the 2 posts, one on the left and one on the right. You're going to insert your hook into the one on the left, and you're going to do another single crochet. Just yarn over, pull up, then yarn over and pull through. And that's your stacked single crochet. It's going to work like a double crochet. You can put a stitch marker in it if you want so you don't get lost. And now we're going to close these gaps we made with a double crochet 2 together. So you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into that next stitch. Pull up your yarn so you have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, but leave those 2 loops on your hook, and then yarn over again and go through that gap, that chain 2 space, and pull up. You have 4 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And that's a double crochet 2 together. That's just me placing a stitch marker so I don't lose my stacked single crochet. So next you're going to do 1 more double crochet 2 together to close the other little gap you have. So again, you'll yarn over, go in, pull up your yarn, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over again, go through the next gap, pull up a loop, and pull through 2, and then pull through all 3. And now what you're going to do is you're just going to double crochet into each of these stitches if you made chains, just like normal, until you get to the other end of where the gaps are. And we're going to do the same thing we just did over here. And once you're done double crocheting in the chain spots, you'll do one more regular double crochet in what looks like the side of a double crochet, and then you'll have your gaps. So that's where you'll do your double crochet 2 together, and then one more double crochet 2 together, and that'll close all your gaps. So now once you've got all those in place, you can go ahead and finish out the rest of this round with just regular double crochets. And you'll slip stitch at the top of your standing single crochet to end your round. Now for row 2 of the sleeve, you're going to chain 2 and turn, and then you're going to do 1 double crochet 2 together in the first 2 stitches, and then after that you're just going to double crochet around until the end of the row, and you'll slip stitch to end your row. In row 3 of your sleeve, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work, and then you're just going to do double crochets all around. And for the rest of the sleeve, you're just going to repeat rows 2 and 3 until you're happy with the length of your sleeve. And just like the bottom of the body, you can cut your yarn, but don't tie off yet. And when I make my sweaters with the acrylic yarn, I usually try to leave about like 4 inches, because I am going to add the ribbing, which is going to add some inches. And just like I said with the bottom, Once you steam it, block it, wash it, it is going to stretch a little bit. And once you're done with that sleeve, you're just going to repeat the same process on the other side. This is just me showing you to put the little stitch marker in there so you don't lose your spot, because we're going to add ribbing later. Next, we're going to get started on the ribbing. You're going to keep your 6mm hook. I just had to change to a different 6mm hook. I don't know where my Clover one went. It grew legs and disappeared. So this is why I had you put stitch markers in the last slip stitch earlier. We're going to change to the color of the ribbing. You can color change however you like. This is just how I like to do it. Just like earlier, I'm going to knot them together and crochet right over the ends, and then I can just cut them off. Now for this row, before you start the actual ribbing, we're going to do one row of half double crochets. So you're just going to chain one and turn and put one half double crochet in each stitch. And you'll slip stitch to end your round, and then we'll get started on the actual cuff. And once you're done with your round of half double crochets, after you've slip stitched, go ahead and switch to your 5mm hook. And just like the neckline ribbing, you can chain your desired length for the cuff. I did the same amount, so mine was 6 plus 1. Doesn't matter how many you chain, as long as you do your plus 1 for turning. And then you're going to turn your work. And just like before, because it's going to make your life easier when you're connecting them later, we're going to crochet into the back humps. So you skip your first chain, and then you're going to do your half double crochet in the second chain from your hook. And you're going to do half double crochets till you get to the end. So I'll have 6 half double crochets in total. You can place a stitch marker in that first half double crochet so you don't get confused later. And once you're done with your first row of half double crochets, you're going to skip the stitch you're working from, and you're going to place a slip stitch in the next 3 stitches. And once you're done with those 3 slip stitches, turn your work, but don't chain. So just like the neckline ribbing, for the first half double crochet and the last half double crochet, I like to go through the whole thing, but for the stitches in between, I like to go in the back loop only. So you're going to skip your 3 slip stitches, and then you're going to put a half double crochet, into the last half double crochet of your previous row. And then you'll do back loop only half double crochets until you reach the last stitch. And in that last stitch, you'll do a half double crochet like normal. Now for row 3, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work, and you're going to do a half double crochet into the back loop only until you get to the last half double crochet, and then you'll do a half double crochet like normal. That last one can be a little tricky to find, so just take your time. And then once you've got that last half double crochet done, you're going to repeat the process from before. You skip the stitch you're working from and do a slip stitch in the next 3 stitches. And to finish your cuff, you're just going to repeat row 2 and 3 until you reach the end. Don't worry about if your last row puts you at the top or at the bottom closer to the sleeve itself. As long as there's not a big gap, that's fine. And for your last row where you have to do 3 slip stitches, you might not have 3 stitches left to do those 3 slip stitches, and that's okay. I think I finished mine with only 1 slip stitch for the final row. So once I reached the end, I only had enough room for 1 more slip stitch, and that's okay. Like I said, you just want to get as close as you can. And if you last row ended up and you were at the other end of the cuff, that's okay if you're at the top as well. You're just going to chain 1 and slip stitch both ends together. And once you're done with your final slip stitch, go ahead and cut your yarn, chain one, and tie off. You're done with that sleeve. And then all you got to do is repeat the same process on the other sleeve. You're going to do your 1 row of half double crochets, and then you'll do your cuffs. Now for the bottom ribbing, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to switch back to your 6mm hook. You're going to change to your ribbing color, and we're going to do that 1 row of half double crochet. And just like before, I'm going to knot my colors together, and I'm going to crochet right over the ends so I can just cut them. So once your color's all set, go ahead and chain 1 and then turn your work. And proceed to do your half double crochet in each stitch, and then you'll just slip stitch to end the round. And once you're done with that round, go ahead and switch back to your 5mm hook. And just like before, you're going to chain your desired length. I kept mine the same amount, so I chained 6 plus 1. And just like the cuffs, we're doing the same thing. We're going to half double crochet into the back humps of the chain. You're going to skip your first chain and half double crochet down. So for me, I had 6 half double crochets. So now you're going to skip the stitch that you're working from, and you're going to place those 3 slip stitches. Go ahead and turn your work. Do not chain. And now you're going to repeat from before. Skip the 3 slip stitches and work your half double crochet into the first half double crochet there. Half double crochets into the back loop only until you get to that last stitch, and then in that last stitch you'll place your half double crochet like normal. Then for this row you chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to work a normal half double crochet into that first stitch. Half double crochets back loop only until you get to the last stitch. Then you'll work a normal half double crochet, and then skipping the stitch that you're working from, you're going to place your 3 slip stitches. And that's going to be the repeat of this pattern all the way around till you get the end. And just like before, in your last row of half double crochets, whether you end at the one end or the other end where your slip stitches are. It's not going to matter. I'll show you what to do when we get there. So here again, I only have enough room for one slip stitch, and that's okay because all of our stitch counts are going to be different since it's made to fit. As long as there isn't a major gap in between, you should be okay. So like right here, I'm not too happy with how there's a bigger gap. So I'm actually going to work 2 more rows for the ribbing. So since I only had to slip stitch one time, I'm only skipping 1 slip stitch. And then I'm going to work a row of the half double crochets and half double crochet back loop only. Now, if you ended here and you don't have a big gap and you're happy with it, that's fine. You can proceed to close it off. But I want 1 more row, so I'm going to crochet 1 more row down to the base. Now I'm going to slip stitch there, and I'm going to chain 1, and then we're going to connect the 2 ends, just like we did with the cuffs. And once you're done with that last slip stitch, you can go ahead and chain 1, cut your yarn, and tie off because you are done. Congratulations. You would go ahead and cut the ends that you crocheted over, and you might have a couple pieces you have to weave in. So if you need help with that, stick around for another second and I'll show you what to do. So because I crocheted over most of them, you can just snip those ends right off. They won't affect anything, and we knotted them. But some of them, like this one, you're going to have to weave in. So go ahead and grab your darning needle, thread your yarn through the needle. And if you don't really know how to weave ends in, you just want to look for a good row that you can kind of put your needle in between, and you'll be able to tell as you stick your needle in, it's going to hide your yarn okay. And you just want to do it a couple times to ensure that it doesn't fall apart in the wash or while you're wearing it, especially since it's ribbing and it can stretch. Alright everyone, that is it. I hope it turned out good for you. I hope this worked, and I hope I made sense. If anything, hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching. See you later.